Reggae didn't just change music, it changed how the world moves. From the first offbeat guitar chop to the last echo in the dub, this sound carried stories of struggle, spirit, and survival across oceans. And here's the blessing. Many of the architects who built that foundation are still with us. Tonight, we're saluting 15 elders who kept the flame alive, voices that bridged ska rocksteady roots, musicians who turned a bass line into a heartbeat and a proverb into a chorus. Some took reggae to global stages, some stayed close to yard and community. All of them made records that still heal dance floors and quiet rooms alike. This is not a memorial. This is a roll call. We'll trace the studios and sound systems, the producers and rhythms, the hymns of freedom and the hymns of love, and we'll show you exactly where to start with each legend so you can feel why their music endures. If reggae ever lifted you, press play. Drop a herb in the comments with the first tune you fell in love with, and subscribe for more deep dive culture, because the elders are here, and the story keeps playing. The Rocksteady hymn that came back to rule the 90s. Before it was a festival sing-along, You Don't Love Me was a 1967 Studio One cut, a bittersweet spiral sung with the poise of a Sunday hymn and the ache of a night bus. Dawn Penn's phrasing is deceptively simple. Each no, 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 pulling the melody slightly off center the way heartbreak tilts a room. The rhythm is rocksteady at its most elegant, bass stepping down in patient intervals, guitar skank like a metronome with manners, organ bubbles drawing halos around the voice. Penn left the industry not long after, then returned decades later to re-voice the song in the 1990s, same melody, new weather. The updated take, built on crisp digital drums and a bass line that sits like granite, turned a cult classic into a global anthem. It landed in clubs, on radio, and in the DNA of countless covers and samples. What changed? Not the song's core. The technology modernized, the ache stayed ancient. Why she matters. Penn's story is proof that Rocksteady's craft can time travel. Give the same melody and new drum palette, and it still speaks because the writing is clean and the performance is human. She's a living link between Studio One's wood-paneled rooms and the international festival stage. The 1967 Studio One original for the swing, the 90s recut for the earthquake, then Dig Her Lover's sides for tone and touch. The captain who sailed every era. Freddie McGregor steps on a mic and the room feels steady. As a child singer at Studio One, he learned phrasing the old way. Watch the elders, breathe with the drums, make the melody lean on the bass. By the late 70s/early 80s, he'd forged a voice that could do roots gravitas and lover's tenderness without changing temperature. Big Ship is the mission statement, a roots march with a singable hook, built for both sound system and schoolyard. Time sets the sun to the moon. Just don't wanna be. Across the years you hear him with different production schools. Classic Studio One warmth, Channel One muscle, the sleek, digital polish of the 80s/90s, and the constants are craft and clarity. McGregor doesn't oversing, he underscores. Just don't wanna be lonely. That's why his catalog ages slowly. The arrangements can shift with the times, but the center holds. Why he matters: longevity with taste. Few artists navigate ska rocksteady roots dancehall era textures without losing themselves. McGregor is the map, silky, righteous, reliable. I don't mind when the time sets the sun. Start here, Big Ship, I Was Born a Winner, push come to shove. Then find his Studio One revisits to hear the circle close.
All right, Cetrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. But check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this Cetrends family together. Your support is everything.
You could have used some more. I ain't gonna stop until...
Where some singers chase melisma, Beres Hammond chases conversation. He sings like he's 2 feet from you. Confessional, grain in the tone, consonants cushioned by smoke and kindness.
First you say that you love me.
Coming out of the 70s with bands like the Dominators, he spends the 80s and 90s refining a sound where lovers' rock is not soft. It's adult, built on real-life economics of love, patience, apology, reunion.
First you say that you love me, and then you turn around and leave me.
His records often carry the watermark of his harmony house imprint. Drums tucked into the pocket, guitar skank just behind the beat, keyboards smoothing the edges, and a bass line that moves like a second melody. The choruses feel inevitable. The verses feel overheard.
You come tomorrow, no holding back, girl.
What One Dance Can Do shows how Beres turns a dance floor into a plot twist. Tempted to Touch is restrained heat. Rockaway is memory as motion picture. Why He Matters. He made grown folk reggae the main event. Radio ready but emotionally literate. Able to sit next to roots steppers without blinking.
There's a time you retire, girl, surrender. Can't hold no longer.
In Jamaican music, that balance is a high art. Start here. What One Dance Can Do, Tempted to Touch, Rockaway. Then any Harmony House live set to feel the community sing back. Listen to Don Carlos and then check your pulse. His voice lowers heart rate. An original member in the early Black Uhuru orbit, he steps into the 80s with solo sides that marry roots doctrine to lover's warmth. The production language can vary, one drop, rockers, early digital pulses, but Carlos's glide is the constant, a baritone/tenor blend that rests on the top of the bass rather than fighting it. Tracks like Suffering, Young Girl, or the sing-along lift of Just a Passing Glance carry the paradox of roots reggae. Songs about burdens sung with ease, messages about patience delivered without sermon. On stage, he moves like the rhythm, economical steps, exacting time. On record, he lets consonants dissolve so the vowels can ride the groove. Why He Matters. He proves roots can be plush. Not every prophet needs thunder. Some bring shade in the heat and water in the dry season. Don Carlos is that shelter. Suffering, Young Girl, Laser Beam / Pass Me the Laser, title varies by pressing, and any live cut with a heavyweight house band. When Alpha Blondy steps on a stage, borders evaporate. Out of Côte d'Ivoire, he builds a catalog that sings in Diola, French, English, and more, fusing reggae's architecture with West African cadence and political plainspeak. Early anthems like Brigadier Sabri, Bite, because they read like Police Report plus Prayer, Cocody Rock, and Jerusalem scale the music to world anthem size. Choruses you can hear from the last row of a stadium. Crucially, he doesn't borrow Jamaican idiom. He meets it. Recording with members of the Wailers in the mid-80s sharpened the groove, but the rhetoric and cadence remain Abidjan street honest, West African in prosody. The guitars may be skanking, the drums may one drop. The message walks from local injustice to pan-human hope without changing shoes. Why he matters? Alpha Blondy made it obvious that reggae was already global, not an export to be imitated, but a grammar any culture could speak fluently. He widened the tent without thinning the stew. Brigadier Sabri, Cocody Rock, Jerusalem. Then find a full concert. The band's discipline plus Blondy's rally leader charisma equals proof. You grew up with the sound of reggae, the heartbeat of the islands. But this Halloween, it's your turn to bring that vibe back. From classic dreadlock hats to full-on Jamaican costumes, we've got the look that takes you straight to Kingston, no passport needed. Show up, stand tall, and let them know reggae never fades. Click the link, grab your reggae costume today, and make Halloween a celebration of the music we love. Long before DAWs and grid lines, Sly Dunbar was quantizing dance floors by hand. Half of the Rhythm Twins, with the late Robbie Shakespeare, Sly rewired the heartbeat of Jamaican music from the 1970s onward. The militant steppers four on the floor, the hustling rockers hi-hat, the cold steel rim shot that turns a groove into a command. If Carlton Barrett crystallized the one drop, Sly industrialized its cousins, adapting the kit to whatever the moment demanded. Roots chants, lovers rock, early dancehall, crossover pop. In Kingston's Pressure Cooker Studios, Channel 1, Tough Gong, Dynamics, Sly learned to make micro choices carry macro weight. A fractionally late snare to lean the whole band back. A 16th note hi-hat flick that lifts a chorus without adding a single overdub. Then came the Taxi era he co-ran with Robbie. Syndromes and Simmons pads in the early 80s, drum machine pulses that still felt human, grooves tough enough for Black Uhuru, supple enough for Gregory Isaacs, street smart enough for dancehall MCs, and cosmopolitan enough to carry Grace Jones and international pop. What to listen for? The way Sly stacks kick and bass with the bassist, never stepping on, always interlocking. Syndrome booms, and tom drops that announce the chorus like a flare in the night. The paradox of militant calm, drums that sound like an army, played with a jazz drummer's economy. Start here, a Black Uhuru Taxi era cut to hear the steel, Grace Jones's reggae funk to hear the polish, Night Nurse, era grooves to hear the pocket as medicine. If you've ever loved the offbeat chop that makes ska bounce and rocksteady sway, you already love Ernest Ranglin. Before he became the elder statesman of jazz reggae, Ranglin was the quiet virtuoso in the engine room, a teenage guitar prodigy who absorbed swing harmony and calypso phrasing, then helped translate Jamaican minto and R&B into the language of ska. In the small, humid rooms of Studio One and the early Island/Blackwell ecosystem, he built a right-hand discipline that is still the grammar lesson every reggae guitarist studies. Muted triads, tight upstrokes, never crowd the vocal. But Ranglin is more than the skank. His improviser's ear means the guitar often becomes a second melody, slipping counter melodies between the vocal and the bass without tugging attention away. Decades on, when he stepped forward under his own name, small group sessions, live festival recordings, the modern classic jazz meets reggae sets, what you heard was the full circle, harmony rich enough for a conservatory, feel relaxed enough for a Kingston veranda. How Ranglin voices chords so the offbeat is tone, not just timekeeping. Single-note bebop lines that never break the rhythm's spell. The space he leaves for bass and drums. Guitar is architecture, not drywall. Start Here, a Studio One-era ska instrumental for the Blueprint, a 1990s jazz reggae album, often cited as a modern gateway for the master at unhurried full bloom. Before liner notes called anyone a legend, Derrick Morgan was charting the country's mood. In the early 60s, he's there at the birth of ska, cutting anthems for producers like Duke Reed and Leslie Kong, then easing that bounce into Rocksteady without losing the bark in his voice. He doesn't just ride trends, he names moments. The Independence era Forward March as national soundtrack, courtroom and street corner parables like Tougher Than Tough, Rudy in Court, that turn ghetto folklore into pop reporting. Duets with Patsy that sketch romance with sparring match wit. Morgan is also the connector, the guy in the room who hears a young singer and knows where to send him. The writer who can tailor a melody to a producer's rhythm and still keep his signature. In a Kingston ruled by sound systems and pressed 45s, he's the artist as infrastructure, keeping the pipeline of talent and songs moving from yard to dance, from dance to radio. What to listen for? The call-and response between voice and horns, ska as street theater. Rocksteady sides where the tempo relaxes but the lyric stiffens into proverb. His knack for hooks that double as headlines. Memorable because they read like truth. Independence-era ska for the spark. A Rocksteady hit for the drawl and moral. A late 60s cut to hear how effortlessly he crosses formats. When Big Youth jumps on a rhythm, you hear toasting turn into oratory. His style is neither pure chant nor pure singing. It's cadence, a rolling tide of exclamation, proverb, and sermon, trained to ride the pocket with acrobat's balance. In the early 1970s, as DJs moved from hyping sound systems to starring on records, Big Youth defined a lane. Dreadwise, playful, irreverent, conscious before conscious was a hashtag. Listen to the early breakthrough where he voices over existing Rocksteady rhythms. He quotes and reframes, half DJ, half griot, transforming familiar instrumentals into new conversations. Then hear the Gussie Clarke-produced material where the band and the man are in tight conspiracy. The drums push, the bass preaches, and Big Youth answers with slogans that feel discovered, not written. The genius isn't that he can rhyme over anything. It's that he can turn a rhythm into a pulpit without scaring the dancers off the floor. What to listen for? The way he pivots tone, from joking to judgmental, in a bar and a half. Melodic fragments tucked into spoken flow, hooks without choruses. Lyrics that work like street corner philosophy, quick, sticky, and portable. Start Here, the classic album built on voiceover versions for the Raw template, a mid-70s dread single for the Rasta Voltage, a later live clip to see how an MC becomes a band instrument. The Featherlight voice with iron in it. There are singers with range and singers with presence. Horace Andy has the kind of presence that makes time slow. At Studio One in the early 70s, he floats skylarking over a cradle of bass and organ like a leaf riding a current. On Roots sides through the decade, he turns lament into consolation, hope into a hush. Get away from me. This is Part of it is tone, airy vibrato, spectral falsetto, but part is phrasing. He arrives late, leans on vowels, lets consonants dissolve into the dub. You don't just hear him, you breathe with him. Then the story bends forward. In the 1990s, Massive Attack folded Andy's voice into trip-hop's nighttime architecture. He revisits images. You Are My Angel, Man Next Door, and they feel reborn, not recycled. The same spiritual ache now dressed in Rhodes keys and sub-bass. The same singer sounding timeless because he was never wrestling for volume in the first place. It's not a crossover so much as a reframing. The core of Horace Andy, contemplative, solitary, consoling, was always modern. What to listen for? How his vibrato functions like an instrument in the mix, texture, and timing in one. The way producers carve space around him, silence is part of the arrangement. The continuity from Roots rhythm to Bristol twilight, proof that a strong voice is a portable cathedral. The studio won Skylarking for Roots Serenity, a late 70s Roots single for Wait, a Massive Attack feature to hear the after-midnight echo of the same soul.
You know, bro, there's just something magical about listening to a reggae album on vinyl. The warmth of the sound, the ritual of dropping the needle on the record. It's a whole different vibe that digital just can't match. And if you've ever wanted to get into that classic vinyl sound, but didn't know where to start, I've got you covered. I've been checking out this Victrola Bluetooth portable suitcase turntable. It's the perfect way to get started with vinyl. You just pop it open, put on a classic album like Bob Marley's Exodus or Toots and the Maidles' Funky Kingston, and let the groove take over. The best part is, it's a suitcase design, so you can literally take your reggae vibes anywhere to the backyard, a friend's place, or just move it from room to room. And it even has Bluetooth, so you can stream music from your phone when you're not spinning records. It's the best of both worlds. This is a great starting point for any fan who wants to feel the foundation of the groove in a whole new way. If you're interested in grabbing one for yourself, I've put a link to it in the description below. Clicking that link and buying one is an awesome way to support the channel and help us keep bringing you more deep dives into the music we all love. So go check it out, and let's get back to the countdown.
Mr. Rocksteady, the baritone that crossed oceans. In Kingston's late 60s pivot from ska's quickstep to rocksteady sway, Ken Boothe became the anchor. The voice was unmistakable, a golden baritone that could sit exactly on top of the bass line and make restraint feel like a superpower.
All the years I have with you, and I would give.
He learned my craft in Jamaica's tight rooms, Studio One, Treasure Isle, where the best singers treated the studio itself like an instrument. Get close to the ribbon mic, sing in the pocket, let the tape hiss turn to halo.
My own, and I would give anything.
Boothe's signatures tell you why he lasted. On classic Rocksteady sides, he lets the phrasing do the pleading, not the volume. In the 70s, he translates that elegance for UK ears, chart-scaling covercraft that's still unmistakably Jamaican in groove.
Heart, my own, and I would give anything.
This is the rare singer who can move between soul standards, foundation rhythms, and reggae pop arrangements while remaining himself. No vocal histrionics, no empty fireworks, just a line sung so squarely that the song sounds like it always existed.
Hey, and you don't hear a word they say.
Why he matters? He's the template for crossover without dilution, proof that a Kingston singer could keep the yard's timing and still live on international radio.
Back again. Is there some?
The phrase Mr. Rocksteady isn't marketing. It's a map of where the music settled and who could stand in its center.
On auction blocks we were chained and cold, and up merchandise.
In reggae history, women are often framed as harmony or muse. Judy Mowatt refused the frame. Yes, she anchored harmonies in the I-threes beside Marcia Griffiths and Rita Marley during Bob Marley's Imperial run. But on her own, she built a cathedral of roots womanhood, lyrics that carried faith, protest, self-possession, and domestic realism with equal authority. Her landmark solo work arrives fully authored, songs written by Mowatt, arrangements attentive to space, and a voice that travels from contralto earth to alto flame without showing the seams. Where much roots reggae couches politics in metaphor, Mowatt often writes in the first person. The social is personal, and the personal is spiritual. You hear church in the melisma, but you also hear yard common sense. Production-wise, she steps through the same rooms as the greats. Live drums with rim-shot discipline, bass lines that move like second melodies, guitar skank as metronome, and yet the center is unmistakably hers.
Let me sing my song.
Why she matters? She recentered the narrative. Instead of women being the harmony around roots reggae, Mowatt made a body of work where the woman is the subject, composer, and prophet.
On auction blocks we were chained and cold, and up merchant.
For every younger artist writing grown folk reggae from a woman's vantage, the door she kicked open is still off its hinges. The queen whose catalog never stops breathing. Call her the queen of reggae, but don't let the crown hide the craft. Marcia Griffiths is the most quietly versatile singer in this story. Studio One Rocksteady elegance, Bob and Marcia pop soul duets that carry Jamaican rhythm into UK living rooms. Threes harmonies that turned stadiums into choirs, and a later era run of lovers, gospel-touched roots, and party anthems that proved her timing never left her. The common thread is placement. Griffiths sings inside the rhythm. The vowels sit where the snare will land. The consonants brush the offbeat like a percussionist's ghost note. That's why she can ride classic one-drop with serenity, step onto a slicker 1980s rhythm without sounding displaced, or float over a party groove and transmute it into communal joy. Remember, one of her biggest cultural moments came when a Jamaican tune became a global line dance phenomenon, not because she chased a novelty, but because her invitation felt trustworthy. Why she matters. Longevity with generosity. Griffiths didn't just headline. She made space for harmony partners, for younger singers, for audiences that weren't born when her first 45s were pressed. When people say reggae royalty, they mean someone who can rule without raising her voice. That's Marcia. Garvey's message, carried like a flame. A bass line starts walking like a procession. The drum is a heartbeat, the percussion a ring of hands. Over it, a voice that sounds like a herald from long ago, measured, grainy, relentless. Burning Spear didn't arrive to entertain, he arrived to bear witness. Out of Saint and the parish of Marcus Garvey, Winston Rodney forged a body of work where the song is sermon, the chorus is ceremony, and the horns write banners in the air. The monumental studio albums of the mid-70s set the standard for roots as scripture, austere mixes where the low end is authority and everything else defers. But see Spear live and you understand the second half of the story. The bands are drilled, the tempo's unhurried, the call and response is old as the hills, and the effect is trance, not trancy showmanship, but civic trance. Music as a town square.
It's them who call me.
When he sings names, Garvey, Rodney, George Jackson, the ancestors, you feel them seated in the horns. Why he matters. He proved that reggae could be more than topical. It could be liturgical. In a genre that often blurs politics and party, Spear made records that consecrate the listener. Slow, heavy, inexorable, and somehow cleansing. Few artists turned history into groove with such moral gravity.
All right, Cetrends fam, let's keep it real. We're pouring our hearts into bringing you the best celebrity news and music deep dives. What? Check it. A massive 98% of you aren't subscribed yet. Subscribing is how you can truly support us, helping us grow and create even better content. If you're vibing with what we do, take a sec to hit that subscribe button. It's free and makes a huge difference. Plus, ring that notification bell so you never miss out. Let's flip that 98% and build this Cetrends family together. Your support is everything.
The door that swung open and never closed. If reggae had to cross a border and introduce itself to the world, it chose Jimmy Cliff as its face. Before the explosion, he was already writing evergreen melodies and cutting records that traveled. Then came the film that changed everything. A story of hustlers and hope where the soundtrack didn't just accompany the narrative, it became the narrative. Cliff's performances turned Jamaican struggle into global empathy without sanding the edges off the rhythm. What sets him apart is range and reach. The voice can plead many rivers to cross or galvanize. You can get it if you really want. And always feels like one person speaking to one person, intimate even when it's an anthem. Across decades, he kept stepping into new rooms, roots bands, polished pop production, international collaborations, while maintaining a moral through line. Resilience is doctrine, melody is medicine. When people across continents think they know reggae, it's often because they met Cliff first and never forgot the handshake. Why he matters. For many listeners, Jimmy Cliff is chapter 1. Not because he diluted the form, but because he chose songs where a listener in Lagos, London, or Los Angeles could recognize themselves. He's the bridge that stayed a bridge, artist, actor, ambassador, without ever becoming a museum piece. If you enjoyed this episode, then go watch this video.